Hey, friends. Welcome. Thank you for joining live. If you're watching live, if you're watching the replay, welcome. So glad to connect with you guys today. Let me know if you hop on, if you're live. Let me know that you're watching, where you're watching from. Today, we're going to be talking about some really good stuff. I have some really good tips for you for your Etsy shop and 6 ways to market your shop to drive sales, to increase your traffic, to get views. So we're going to be going through that first, and then we are going to hop into the Q&A so you can ask me any questions you have about Etsy. If you want to go ahead and type in your question into the comment section, just put 4 question marks in front of it. So when it's time for the Q&A, I can see, kind of scroll through the comments and see which ones are the actual questions. So that just helps me to kind of tell the difference. So if you have a question, feel free to go ahead and post it in the chat. 4 question marks in front, and I will get to those in just a bit. But first, we're going to talk about 6 ways to increase traffic to your Etsy shop. So this is something that, especially if we're just beginning, it's hard to get eyeballs on your listings and on your shop if nobody knows about it and you just opened. So I'm going to be giving you my top 6 ways today of driving traffic to your Etsy shop. These are 6 things that you can do if you're just beginning, or even if you've already been on Etsy for a while and you just need a boost in your traffic, a boost in your views. You can try any of these 6 methods, and I would recommend trying multiple methods to just, kind of try to get some of that momentum going again. We always talk about momentum. We talk about how important it is to have consistent views, consistent traffic coming in. And when it's not, it's sort of your job to drive it from external sources. So it can be confusing sometimes how to do that. So I'm going to just jump in here to these 6 ways that I would recommend you drive traffic to your Etsy shop. Okay, so the first one is going to be influencer marketing. So what I mean by influencer marketing is working and collaborating with influencers. So we know there's influencers on all different platforms, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, they're everywhere. Influencers, have kind of been on the rise for several years now, and influencer marketing is only growing and becoming more of the norm, even for mainstream businesses to work with influencers. So a couple of things if you want to try to work with an influencer. First, you want to choose your platform. So this would be choosing one platform that you want to focus on. I would recommend either YouTube or Instagram. The reason I say these two is because Instagram, there's different audiences on both. Instagram is full of influencers that are giving inspiration, that are posting these just beautiful aesthetic pictures. And even more recently, Instagram is kind of turning towards, more real life content. So Instagram is a great place to find influencers, as well as YouTube, video marketing, and people coming on YouTube to make video content is growing and growing. And you can find influencers on YouTube to partner with as well to feature your products or to feature you as a seller. So I would recommend thinking about Instagram or YouTube. Pick one of those platforms to find some influencers to collaborate with. Now, I would recommend if you're just first starting to focus on micro influencers. So, of course, if you reach out to an influencer that has, upwards of 1 million subscribers, let's say on YouTube, they're probably not going to be interested or really have the time even to look at your shop or to feature a really small, just getting started shop. But the key is to find a micro influencer. So micro influencers is different for each platform, but generally they're influencers with, I would say maybe less than 20,000 if it's YouTube subscribers or Instagram followers. Maybe even less than 10,000. That way, they're still small enough to where they are interested in looking at the smaller shops. They're still interested in working with smaller sellers who are maybe just getting started or just getting the ball rolling. It's a little bit easier for those smaller and up and coming micro influencers to work with smaller sellers and smaller shops. And they a lot of times have more engaged and more committed followers and audiences. So this is the key to working with an influencer is you want to find one with a really engaged and loyal following or audience on their platform. This is really important because a lot of times influencers will get really huge and then they can kind of lose sight of the engagement with their followers. And then their audience kind of just becomes, I mean, they may have a big number, but their audience sort of becomes unengaged if they're not doing what they need to do to really make that personal connection. It can be harder as they grow to make that personal connection. So you want to be working with an influencer that has that really engaged audience, really personal connection with their followers, with their audience, so that their audience trusts what they say. And when they feature you, or talk about your shop, their audience is going to trust and believe what they say and take their recommendation because they have that more personal connection. So that's why I recommend finding a micro influencer, whether you're on Instagram or YouTube. Now, you may ask, like, hey, well, I have in mind a few influencers that, I could think of that I could reach out to that are micro influencers. What do I actually do with them? How do we actually collaborate? So, in general, the way it works is you would reach out or make your pitch to the influencer or to their team, and you would offer either a gifted free product or a payment for a feature on their social media or whatever platform they're on. So in general, sometimes influencers are fine with doing kind of an exchange like free product for a feature. Sometimes they don't want a free product. They might want to be paid. So you might want to think of what kind of payment you could offer them if that's within your budget. So you can kind of go either way. I will say influencers in general would rather be paid than have a free product. But again, if it's a micro influencer and they're just getting started, they may be willing to do it just for a free product. So whatever you decide you want to offer them, you would send them your pitch, either find out their email, their business email, or even if it's on Instagram, you can DM them. A lot of times they'll be monitoring their DMs or they'll have a team member monitoring that. But there's lots of different ways you can find to reach out to them, to connect with them. And you want to just give them a very professional sounding, clear, easy to understand pitch of what you would be offering and what you would be looking for in return. So of course, can look different for each platform. Instagram could be like a story feature or an in-post feed feature of your product or your shop, or a shout out. It could be so many different things. Of course, on YouTube, there's integrations. Somebody could, if they're making a video, they could have like a little small 30-second feature or mention of your shop. Or you could collaborate for something bigger. So it just depends what works for you and that influencer together. Okay, so that's the first one, is influencer marketing. Let's move on to number 2, which is brand ambassadors. So brand ambassadors it's kind of similar to collaborating with an influencer, but it's almost like a level up or a level deeper. So brand ambassadors are generally people who already know and love your brand and who are already spreading the word. So they're already talking about it, they're already sharing it with their friends. And so you're going to kind of just realize who those people are and take note of that and ask them to become an actual brand ambassador. So it's similar to working with an influencer, but it's an ongoing thing. So you would decide on what agreement you want to have with that brand ambassador. For example, it could be that you are going to give them free products quarterly in exchange for weekly posts on their social media, whatever platform they're on. Doesn't have to be that. That's just an example, but you would come up with what you want your brand ambassador program to be like. And then you would ask the people that are already loving and spreading the word about your brand to officially partner with you as a brand ambassador. So when I did this we had our second Etsy shop, which was a jewelry shop. We've since closed that shop since, our situation has changed with my husband's employment and things like that, and on YouTube. So, but we did do a brand ambassador program with our Ellie Combs shop, jewelry shop. And I just typed out like basically just all the details of what the program entailed, what they could be expecting from us, what we were going to be sending to them, and what we were going to be expecting from them in return, on which platforms and all of that. So we just made it really clear. I feel like with this, communication is very clear. You want to make sure that your brand ambassadors understand exactly what they're committing to, and don't just kind of like fall off the wagon, a month in. You want to be constantly communicating with them, constantly updating them, always sending them, if you agree to a quarterly free product, you definitely want to keep to that. Keep your end of the deal so that it keeps them excited. It keeps them loving your brand and spreading the word. Okay, so number 3 is going to be email marketing. So with email marketing, this is something that is a long-term sort of thing that you're going to be committing to, but it's important to do it from the very beginning because it does take a while to build. You want to be starting to build your email list from the very beginning. So I'm going to walk you through some steps on exactly how to build your email list. Okay, so the first step in starting to build an email list, you're going to create what's called a lead magnet. So this is kind of like a freebie. This is something that you are going to be creating for the person that's going to be signing up for your email list to give them something for free. A lot of times it's a digital download or some kind of like digital checklist or a guide or a template of some sort, something easy that you can create digitally that they are going to download. If you have digital products already, it could be like a free one of your digital products. Like, let's say you sell stationery, it could be like a free card set or something that they could download and use. But in general, it's going to be easiest for you to do something that you can create digitally and they can just easily, quickly download for free. So, an example of this might be, you want it to be relevant to your niche. Of course, if you're a physical product seller, it's like, well, what kind of checklist am I going to offer my, target customer if I'm selling like, example could be something like an organization, like a shoe rack or something. So if you were selling, let's say, products to organize your closet, like a shoe rack or something like that, then an example of something like a freebie that you could create would be like 30 ways to organize your closet or something. It would be a list or a guide that they could download that has to do with your niche, but it's more informational and it's giving them instruction on something that you already know they're interested in because they're already interested in your niche. So you're going to create that lead magnet or freebie, and then you're going to design a landing page. So this is a page. It's actually a site that they go to. It's not a whole like website that they click through. It's one page called a landing page, and this is a very simple page where it's basically telling them what kind of freebie they're going to get in exchange for signing up for your email list. Now, there are a lot of different email provider platforms that you can do this with. I use ConvertKit, which is my email provider. So that's what I send my newsletters through, and you can design as many landing pages as you want. And the cool thing is that you can upload your freebie or your lead magnet and set it up for automatic delivery to the person. So they type in their email address, they click sign up, and then ConvertKit will automatically send them a link to download that freebie. So it's really easy. You just set it up once. You're not having to do anything actively. Once you set it up, it's an automatic system. So they go to your landing page, they put in their email, they get the freebie, and then you have their email on your newsletter list. So what I would recommend once you start getting some subscribers to your email list is to send out a weekly newsletter. You can decide how often you want to send it out, but it needs to be consistent. It needs to be something where they're consistently getting news from you or hearing your voice in some way. Now, the key here is that you don't want it to be spammy. I know sometimes it can be easy as product sellers to want to just like every time we communicate, like, hey, go buy this new thing. Hey, wait, I have this discount. Like, hey, I have a new product. I'm launching a new product line. But people feel like that's spammy a lot of times and they'll get turned off by that. So the key to keeping your subscribers on your email list engaged and following you and opening your emails is to provide value and then weave in your product whenever it's relevant. So the content on your email newsletter is not primarily promotional. It's primarily providing value and providing solutions to their problems. So going back to that example that I was talking about before, with the closet organization, let's say you sell products that have to do with that. You could think of ways to give them content around that niche. So it's still related, but it's informational and it's giving them an answer to some problems they might have. So we can talk more about that in depth, but that's kind of the general idea. And then, of course, if you're doing that the right way, you will have opportunities to kind of sprinkle in your product whenever it's relevant. So, hey, if you give them 30 ways to organize their closet, they may be reading through the 30 tips. And then it's like, you're talking about specifically where to put their shoe rack, you can put a link to, hey, here's our shoe rack that we have available. So of course, don't feel afraid to put your product in there, but you don't want it to be the main thing because you don't want it to seem overly spammy, if that makes sense. All right, let's move on to the next one, which is social media marketing. I talk a lot about this on my channel, so you may have already seen some of my tips on this. If you're just getting started with this, I would recommend choosing one platform to focus on. Social media can be kind of overwhelming. And if you're trying to be in all the places at once, you're trying to be on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and Pinterest, it can be very overwhelming, number one. And it can spread you so thin that you're really not being effective at any of them. So I recommend picking one platform, and you want to pick the platform where your target customer is already hanging out. So you need to be thinking of who your target customer is. You really do need to put some thought and depth into this, figuring out who are they, what's the demographic you're looking at, what's their life situation in general. You want to really narrow it down to know who your target customer avatar is. Um, and then think about which social media platform would they actually be hanging out on. So you want to figure that out, which one, and that's going to kind of give you a clue as to which one to focus on. I would also say think about which one you're most already familiar and comfortable with, because if you're trying, you can learn a totally new platform, but it may take you a little while, and that's a little bit of a longer term thing, learning new platforms and learning how the algorithm works for that specific platform and things like that. So combination of where is your target customer already hanging out and which one are you most comfortable with. Now, if you're going to go with Facebook or Instagram, it's different than, say, Pinterest, because the audiences are on those platforms for different reasons. So you have to consider what type of audience do each of these platforms have and which one fits best with what I'm trying to do. So for Facebook and Instagram, people are generally there to find something funny or interesting or informational. And they're also there a little bit for like community building with groups and things like that. So if you're choosing one of those, I would highly stress doing giveaways, discounts, live streaming. Like if you have your own group, you can live stream and connect that way. And just in general, doing things that build your community on those platforms, because that's the reason people are already there. And that's kind of the general way to get engagement on those two. Now, if you're thinking about Pinterest, that's a little bit different, because in general, people are on Pinterest for inspiration. They want to get inspiration about a specific thing, or they want to plan for a specific thing. So people could be on Pinterest looking at room decorating ideas or recipe ideas, and they want to be inspired. So if you're going to focus on Pinterest, that's a great way to think about it, is what kind of content is going to inspire my target customer? What kind of content can I pin that's going to help them plan or solve the problem and provide the solution of what they need, whatever they're looking for? And a great thing about this is that if you have a blog, which we'll talk about blogging in just a minute, but if you have a blog, you can pin your blog as a bridge to your shop. So it's almost like you have to think about, I'm not just going to be pinning my listings from my shop. You can do that as well, but think a little bit more out of the box than that, and think a little bit more creatively and think about a bridge. So what could somebody click on? If I have a blog, I could do an article going back to our organizing, setup. If I do an article about the best ways to organize your hanging clothes, that could be something that someone is actually specifically already searching for in Pinterest, something along those lines. And if you pin your blog post, they might click on it to learn the information. And then in your blog post, you're presenting the link to your listing, as part of that article. So it acts as a bridge between their first click on Pinterest over to your shop. They may not be as likely to click on a pin that is just for a listing. They're there wanting to learn and wanting to be inspired. Okay. So talking about starting a blog, that's going to be our next one. Is if you don't have a blog already, you can start a blog. This is a great way to start to build an audience and start to drive traffic. So the main thing with starting a blog is that you want your primary content, like we talked about before, to be providing value. So again, we're not spamming people with our listings. We are providing free value for them that's going to build trust. So you're thinking of what problem your target customer has, and you're going to solve it for them. I mean, it sounds very simple. That's the thing. It's super simple, and you're basically giving the answer to their problem. So you have to, first of all, know your target customer, who they are, and second of all, know what problems they have that they're trying to solve. And then you are in charge of coming up with and presenting the solution. So when you present the solution, of course, you can present your product as part of that solution. But of course, it's only when relevant. So that's how we avoid being spammy and we genuinely care about our people, is that you're not just constantly spamming with new products. You are giving them an actual solution, you're giving them information, you're giving them value, and you're providing your product as part of the solution when relevant. All right, now lastly, we're going to talk about media features. So when I say media features, I'm talking about being featured in either an article, a blog post, a podcast, some kind of media. So this one is a little bit more complicated, but it can be done if you do it the right way. So we're talking about, first of all, identifying hosts who are relevant to your niche. So you're not going to just be randomly like shot in the dark, reaching out to podcast hosts and bloggers and stuff. Like, you need to identify which ones are relevant to your niche and whatever product you're selling. And then you're going to craft your pitch. So you're going to pitch yourself to them and you're going to show them what value you can provide for their audience. So when you're thinking of a specific podcast or a specific blog, you're thinking about who their audience is and what can I provide for them, and what kind of value can I bring to the table that will benefit their audience, because that is what the host is concerned first and foremost about, is what kind of value their audience is getting. They're not going to feature somebody that has nothing to do with what the topic of their blog is. So first of all, it needs to be relevant. Second of all, it needs to show what value you can bring to the table. So for instance, I know my audience is mainly small business owners and Etsy sellers. So I would never feature someone on this channel that had nothing to do with that, that was talking about something completely different. So you want to make sure that what you're pitching is relevant to the host, and you want to make sure that your pitch is professional and easy to understand exactly what you're proposing the partnership be. So a lot of times, like just from my personal experience, I'll get offers from people and it's like, I just click off if it's not immediately very easy to understand what they're offering or what they're pitching. Because a lot of times these hosts or, podcast hosts, bloggers, whoever, they'll have so many emails and so many things coming in. They'll just be skimming. And so it's up to you to, first of all, appear very professional, to get their attention and to make it very clear cut. This is what I'm offering. This is how I would love to partner with you, and make it just as easy as possible for them. So that is something that could take a little bit more time in terms of identifying the right ones to reach out to. And it may take a lot of reaching out over and over again. But it is worth it, because a lot of times these bloggers or a podcast or a certain place that features articles will already have a built-in audience. So you're tapping into someone else's audience that's already established, instead of feeling like from the ground up and from scratch, or having to like one by one build your own audience. It helps to tap into other people's audiences, which is why we first talked about the influencer marketing, and collaborating with brand ambassadors and people that already have audiences. So hopefully that helps. Those are the 6 ways that I would recommend, especially if you're first getting started, but you can do these at any time. Even if you already have like a pretty established shop, you can do these at any time for sure. So I don't want this to be overwhelming, by the way. I would love for this to be like something that's really encouraging, gives you some creative ideas, but don't let it become overwhelming, because we're not doing all of these at once, right? We're doing these. I would recommend for you to pick one of these methods to start with. If you haven't tried any of them, just pick one to start with and really focus on. Don't spread yourself too thin. Don't think about trying to do 4 or 5 of these at once. Pick one. So I personally started with social media. That's the thing that I talk about probably most on my channel. That's the thing that's worked for me. But I have done several of these in addition to that. And different methods work for different people. So you may try something and not have a great outcome. It's okay. Just try the next one. Try something else. And I think that's kind of the key to being a successful small business owner, is always being able to pivot, try different things, experiment with different things until you find what works. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining. I see all the comments going on over here. Hey, Vicky, Leo, Michelle, thank you for joining. Good to hear from you, Audrey from Texas. Let's see. We got Knoxville, Tennessee. Hey, Emma. We got Tampa, Florida. Thank you guys for joining in. I recognize some of these names. Okay, Antoinette says, just found your channel yesterday. Just started my shop a couple weeks ago. I'm so glad you found the channel. So glad you're here. Congrats on getting started. I know a lot of us are just starting. Beginners on Etsy. It's the start of a new year. Let me know in the comments. Is this like your new year thing that you're doing? Did you wait till the start of 2022 to really like dive in? If so, let me know what you sell. Let me know, all the things. Okay, so let's get started on our questions here. Well, actually, first, before we do that, I want to mention my free Etsy success guide. You guys may already know about that. I've mentioned it in my videos before. If you go to checklist.kate-hayes.com, you can get my free Etsy success guide, which is basically a bullet point checklist that goes through everything I recommend for you to start and scale your shop and to really grow it. So to make sure you're focusing on the right things. So again, that's a free download. You can hop over there and grab that. And then also in the description of this video, I have a resource list of my favorite tools. So I get asked all the time, like what kind of websites I use, what kind of resources and tools I use to grow my Etsy shop. And there's a lot of different things that I do use. And so I have the description, a list of all of those. It's things like Sales Samurai. You guys have probably heard me talk about that. The Retail Brew newsletter, which is like a 3 times a week newsletter that comes to my email to keep me up to date on retail trends, everything going on in the retail world. That's a free sign up. So that's part of, I feel like, being a really great and growing business owner is staying up to date with what's happening in the retail world. You always have to be staying up to date, always keeping on top of the trends. So I would highly recommend y'all go sign up for that Retail Brew newsletter. And then Placeit is, you probably heard me talk about that. Placeit is a great website for graphic design. They have design templates, they have mockups. So things like this are really great resources that you can use that I wish I had known about, honestly, when I first started, because I didn't know any of these kind of things existed to help me. And I really, really like pieced things together in the beginning when I could have like had the shortcut. So I mentioned that because I do have all those things listed in the description of the video. Feel free to browse through those. Those are my favorite resources and tools. And remember also today, you can give a super chat or a super sticker on the live chat, which will basically, you can donate any amount to the channel when you do that, and it'll highlight your comment in a bold color, and I will see it, and I will skip right to your comment and answer your question first. So if you want to do that, you should see a super chat or a super sticker somewhere around this video. All right, let's hop into the questions. I'm going to try to get to as many as I can today. And remember, if you have a question, type the 4 question marks in front so I can know that's a question for me. All right, Antoinette says, how do I add made to order items so can be made once ordered? So you can, on Etsy, you can offer ready-made items that are already made, ready to go, or made to order items. So made to order would be when the order comes in, you start making it according to, if it's personalized or customized or something like that, you make it to order. There's really not like a difference when you're creating your listing, Antoinette. You can select that on the listing, and there's not much that you do differently for that when you're creating the listing. There's a little section where you would click made to order, and then of course when the order comes in, you would just start making it according to whatever specification. So if the buyer has options for variations or things like that, or it's customized, then of course you would wait to start making it until it comes in. Okay, Audrey says, does Etsy allow use of unique time-boxed promo codes for the influencers' viewers to use? So yes, so if you are if you're collabing with an influencer and you want to offer like a coupon code specifically just for that influencer's audience, like a 30% off or something, you can create a coupon code. You would just go in your settings, and I think it's under the marketing tab. You would create a coupon code for that, just specifically for that influencer. And you can put a time on it, so it'll expire on a certain date. So if you're going to do that, just make sure to let the influencer know so that when they're communicating that to their audience, that this is good up until this date. You have this amount of time to use it. And then, of course, you would only share that coupon code with that influencer, so nobody else can use it. It's only for their audience. Okay. Let's see. Thank you, Kate, for all your posts. It's helped a lot. You're welcome. I have a question. I'm recently getting a lot of favorites. So today I sent out messages to say thank you and a coupon. Would that help? So yes, you can actually you can create a coupon. You can set it up in your settings to where you create a coupon for people that have added to their cart. I'm not sure if you can do it just for favorites. I'll have to check in on that. But I know that you can do a coupon for people that have recently added something of yours to their cart, but they haven't purchased. And Etsy will send it to them like as a, hey, we know you added this to your cart. Here's $5 off if you want to buy it. So you can definitely do something like that, or you could just create a general coupon that you just manually, when you're messaging people, if you have the time to like send those personal messages, like you said, to say thank you, you can add a coupon in there as well. And actually, now that I think about it, several years ago, someone did that to me. So I was looking for a dress for my daughter and I found one I really loved, but it was out of my budget at the time. And I had added it to my cart, but I wasn't going to purchase it. And she messaged me and said, hey, I realized that you added this to your cart. Here's a 20% off coupon if you would like to buy it. And I did. So that does work. It just takes time to send out those messages and kind of be on top of who all is interacting with your shop, either by favoriting or adding to cart. If you're going to do it with the cart thing, I would recommend just setting it up automatically. So Etsy will do that. Okay, Nick says, I make print on demand items, templates, and printables, and they are not really the same theme aside from being nerdy or quirky. Should I have multiple stores? So it's a little subjective. I feel like I would have to maybe see what all you offer. I do recommend if you're going to offer things in the same store that they need to be related in some way. So either by the topic or the theme of what they are, or the actual type of a product. So like if you sell all t-shirts, then obviously it's okay to have a t-shirt store even if what's on them is not related at all. But if you're selling different things like let's say you have t-shirts and mugs and keychains and like kind of different types of items, they need to be related by topic or theme. So it's kind of one or the other, either the same type of product or the same theme of product. So Nick, I can't really answer for sure for your specific store because I haven't seen it, but I would recommend it needs to be related one way or the other, if that makes sense. Okay, Gabriella said, what program do you use for the freebie landing page? So I use ConvertKit, which I think that's already linked in the description of this video. It should be under my like resources section. So it's called ConvertKit, and that's who I use for my email marketing. So sending out my newsletters, growing my subscriber list, and then also landing pages. And it's super easy with ConvertKit to set up a landing page. And then, like I said before, to set it up automatically to where that freebie or that lead magnet automatically delivers once they sign up. So ConvertKit is kind of like an all-in-one system, which is why I love it. It does so many different things. So I would recommend if you're interested in building an email list that you look over at ConvertKit. Click the link in the description below. I think it's in there. And it'll take you over there. They have different plans that you can choose from. So I love ConvertKit. It makes it super easy. Okay, I have a crochet item business. I'm not quite sure what type of freebie I could offer. Could I also put a poll in newsletters? Okay, so for a crochet item business, think about your target customer. Who is the person that's ultimately, like ideally going to be buying your items? And I think it would help me to answer this question to know what types of things you're offering. Is it a crochet blanket? Is it baby clothes, hats, like winter things? It kind of depends on that because you have to think about who's ultimately buying your type of product, your target customer, and what problems they have. So why are they looking to buy this? That'll kind of cue you in on imagining what kind of problem they might have. And then your freebie could be something that answers or gives value related to that problem. So, I have no clue if this is what you offer, but just for instance, if you crochet blankets, right? If you have really high quality crochet blankets, you would think about the person that's buying this is maybe either they want to decorate their living room with a nice blanket, or if it's a baby blanket, they're maybe a young mom that's trying to decorate the nursery or wants something to do with the crib. So think all through those details to figure out who is actually going to be looking at this. And then, like, if it's someone that you feel like is going to be decorating their living room with this really nice high quality blanket, you might offer them some solutions on how to decorate a modern living room. Or if it's farmhouse or whatever the style might be, 10 tips to decorate your farmhouse living room, or 10 ways to style your blanket in your living room, or something like that. Something informational that you can type up and create a really nice downloadable guide. That's something that I would say. Of course, uh, I recommend doing something digital and downloadable because it's easiest for you to create quickly and easily, and it's easiest for them to download. um I've seen people try to do like free product before, like physical product, which I would recommend you stay away from just because of the cost associated and the labor associated with that. But that's just an example. You could be creative. And actually, there's a lot of articles that I've seen on ideas for freebies. So if you Google ideas for lead magnets or ideas for well, yeah, I would say lead magnet is probably the most of what it's called. Google that, and there are articles according to your niche. You can find like lead magnets for home and living, or lead magnets for jewelry, or things like that. And there are articles out there that have ideas. Denise says the subscriber has to opt in. You cannot just add them to your email list. Right. So when you create your landing page, at least with ConvertKit, what they offer is, the opt-in. So they have to actually confirm. So, like, the way mine is set up is someone will go to the landing page, they'll type in their email, and then they will click download, which is the button for, sign up or download. You can put whatever you want there. Mine says, I think, like, grab your free guide or something. So when they do that, they confirm, and then ConvertKit automatically sends them an email from me saying, hey, confirm your email to get your free guide. So then they have to confirm it in that email, and then they get access to the free guide. So that's their opt-in. 50 to 60-year-old women, which platform would they favor? Well, I would say it's not just about age, it's about what they're interested in. So, I would say in general, there's probably older people on Facebook than there are on Instagram. Facebook compared to Instagram, Facebook would be probably older generations, Instagram might be younger, but it's always evolving too. And Pinterest is kind of all over the place. So I would say think about your niche and what type of product or content you're going to be offering. And that will cue you in as to what platform is right, more so than the age, if that makes sense. Oh, thank you guys. Y'all are just lots of comments about awesome tips, amazing info. I'm glad to help you guys. Y'all know I genuinely want to help you. I genuinely care about you guys getting success because I've been there and I know the work that it takes. And I want to help you guys find the shortcuts and get there faster, which is why I do this. So it's my pleasure to come alongside you guys in your journey. Um, okay, how long did it take to get my first sale? I think it was a few months. So I don't know exactly, I don't remember, but I do remember opening my Etsy shop and crickets for a while, like just nothing, and just really trying to research and figure out the whole Etsy thing. And it did take a while. I think it took a few months. And then I remember my first sale coming in. I didn't have the app yet. If you have the Etsy app, the Sell on Etsy app, when you get a sale, it's the ching and it makes you really excited. But I didn't have the app yet. So I just got an email that said something like, "Congratulations, you've made an Etsy transaction." And I saw that email and did a double take, like, what? Wait, what? Is this a sale? Did I actually make a sale? And I was so excited. I think I did a happy dance. So for the first several months, for me, it was sort of hit or miss. Like sales would kind of trickle in a little bit. I would get favorites and views, but not many sales. And then just over time, it became, more consistent. And as I evolved, so looking back on the first products that I offered, it was kind of just random things that really didn't relate. And I evolved. So I started researching what things are actually selling, and I started looking at Etsy and home decor. That's what I was interested in. So signs, or I made these little name blocks, things that were popular at the time. And I remember finding my first bestseller was a grandkids sign. So y'all may remember those. They were really popular several years ago. It said "Grandkids make life grand," and it had a little string with the clips for pictures. And in my research, I noticed that I kept seeing that over and over again. I was like, I can make that. So sure enough, I tried to make that sign, but I made mine different. So most of those had vinyl letters that people were putting on them. And I learned and taught myself how to hand letter it in a certain technique. And so I watched tutorials on how to do it. So that's what set mine apart. I feel like it was a little better quality because it was hand lettered. And I think that's what people liked about it. And that became my first bestseller. And that's when I really started seeing consistent, substantial sales. So that's why I talk so much. I preach so much, follow the trends, look at what's selling, because every time I've had a bestseller, it's been because I specifically honed in on what was already selling and I put my own twist on it. And that's what's worked every single time. Okay. Luca, you have a question about not getting a payout from Etsy to verify your account. Is that why people can't buy from your store? I'm not sure. You may have to reach out to Etsy support on that. That would be a question for them, why that wasn't coming through. But yeah, I mean, if you just opened it and you haven't verified your account yet, people won't be able to buy from your store until it's completely all set up and published. So yeah, definitely reach out to Etsy on that one. Lorraine, you said, should we delete items that are no longer in season? I think you meant maybe Christmas items there. So no, I would not delete them. A lot of times I recommend, so it kind of depends what the item is. So if it's something that is, if you mean Christmas, I'm assuming you mean Christmas there. So let's say it's specifically a Christmas item. I would have a section in your shop that's titled Christmas, or Christmas, whatever it is, Christmas bows or whatever you're offering, so that it's very easily navigated. And if people are looking specifically for that, if it's something that has sold pretty well, you definitely don't want to delete it, because you're going to be, Christmas is going to be coming up again, and you can keep that listing going every Christmas. But if it's something that hasn't sold, if it just hasn't made any sales for the last few years or something, you could deactivate it or delete it. I've gone through every now and then and kind of just deleted the things that weren't selling well, but I wouldn't jump to that, because it does take some time to see if it's going to perform or not. You don't want to just have a listing up for a month and then it doesn't make any sales, so you delete it. Normally, I would recommend at least maybe 6 months of trialing it to see what it's going to do. But as far as season, if it's something that, let's say it's something that's not specific to a season, but it could sell for a season. So for instance, let's go back to my sign that I sold. What I would do with that sign is, it wasn't specifically for Christmas, but it was a great gift for Christmas, for grandparents. So I would change my SEO. So I would change my title and my tags according to season. So when it was Christmas, I would put grandparent gift or Christmas gift for grandparent in there. And then when it came around to Mother's Day, I would change it to Mother's Day gift for grandma, or grandma gift for Mother's Day, or something. I would always be changing it according to the season, whatever the gifting occasion was, if that makes sense. So it sort of depends on what type of item it is, but you can always keep it up if it's that sort of thing that can work for several different holidays or occasions. and change out the SEO according to what's being searched at the time. Is it okay to have clip art and wall art instant downloads in the same shop? I would say it is if they're related in some way. So in general, clip art is going to be purchased by maybe designers, people that are designing different things, or business owners that need clip art, marketing, those kind of people. Wall art instant downloads is more just like home decor, I would think. So, they're kind of separated in that way. So I would say because they are sort of different types of products, they need to be related either by topic or theme or something like that. The thing is, just expounding on why I say that a lot, is the thing is that people want to buy from the expert. So think about when you buy something. If you were looking for, let's say you were looking for um, a pillow, like a decorative pillow, and you narrowed it down to a few that you liked, and then you're going to look through their shops. You probably would be more drawn to the shop that only sells pillows because they must be an expert in pillows if that's all they sell, right? That's their thing. Whereas there's maybe another shop that has the pillow, but then they also sell keychains and like pens and some digital downloads and some stickers. And it's kind of like, well, I mean, I don't understand. Like, why the pillow? They must kind of just dabble, so they are not the expert. The pillow person is the expert because they're the pillow person. You know what I mean? So it may seem from the first look that like, well, if I narrow down too much, I'm missing out on so much potential from all these different types of buyers and niches and stuff. But really, if you narrow down, you're going to make more sales because people want to buy from the expert. If that makes sense. So it's kind of like, it's almost backwards when you first think about it. You're like, why? I don't want to niche down and missing out. But niching down and honing in on like either one specific type of item or one specific theme makes you appear more of the expert in that niche, which puts people at ease when they're buying. They want to feel safe. They want to feel like they're buying from somebody that knows what they're doing, that does this. This is all they do. They put everything they have into this. It makes them feel safe to buy from that person. Vicky asks, the ConvertKit that you're talking about, is that your email and landing page together, or are they two different services? That's email and landing page together. So for me, ConvertKit is both my email. So I have my weekly newsletter that I send out. They keep track of my subscribers. I get all the data, all the analytics on the subscribers. I can so I've set up an email sequence. You can do sequences, which you can get way into email marketing and talk all about the different strategies, but the email sequence is basically when a person opts into your newsletter or your email list, you can set up an automatic sequence. So mine, like when somebody joins mine, I have automatic emails, like the first 3 that go out are automatically sent on certain days after like an amount of days after they sign up for the newsletter. And it's already set so that it's a sequence that goes out automatically. And then in addition to that, I write my weekly newsletters that are considered a broadcast. So I broadcast out my newsletter once a week as well. But ConvertKit does all of that: email sequences, broadcasts, and your landing pages. You can have as many landing pages as you want, depending on what plan you have. But it handles my landing page. It handles the automatic delivery of my freebie after somebody signs up. So ConvertKit is like an all-in-one kind of thing. And actually, a fun thing on ConvertKit too is that I have a tip jar. I don't know if you guys have seen this. In the description of my video, it'll say leave a tip for Kate. And if somebody wants to give me a tip in my tip jar, it's like a digital tip jar, they can donate whatever amount they want to, just for a thank you for the channel or whatever. And that's through ConvertKit as well. So you can have products that you actually sell through ConvertKit, and the tip jar is one that I have set up through ConvertKit. So it's just an awesome platform. If y'all are interested in that, I would definitely click that link, go through and explore it, see everything they have to offer. Like I said, they have different plans. So, you can choose the one that works for you. You may only want like the bare minimum simple, like I just need an email list. I just want subscribers and like one landing page. That's totally doable. Or you can do the whole thing with all the different features available. Okay, I think Fun Family, you were the one that asked the question earlier, and you said it is mother of the bride. So I think you're saying that that's what your kind of theme is. I'm looking back now. Oh, the 50 to 60-year-old women, which platform? Mother of the bride. Okay. So if that is your target customer is a mother, their daughter's getting married, I would say maybe Pinterest, because Pinterest is where people are going to go to look for inspiration for weddings, for decor, anything bridal, like planning. So I would say maybe Pinterest. Of course, it's up to you. You have to really think through who your customer is. But that was my first thought when you said that would be Pinterest. All right. Okay. Robin says, how do you add original content to Pinterest? And could you review the blog bridge idea, please? Okay. So adding original content to Pinterest, I think you mean as opposed to like repinning something that's already on there is you'll just open your Pinterest account and you can create a pin. So you instead of repinning, you just create your own pin. Sorry, y'all, it's just getting a little darker in here. I'm gonna try to brighten this up a little bit. Okay. Hopefully that helps with the lighting. Sorry, that's just kind of changed around on me there. Okay, so when you go to Pinterest, you can create your own pin. Of course, you can participate in group boards and things like that. I have done a lot more on Facebook than I have on Pinterest. So I am by no means a Pinterest expert. I don't want to give you any wrong information, but I do know there's a lot of information about Pinterest out there. So I would, after this is over, if you're interested in doing Pinterest, maybe on YouTube, just kind of type in or Google, how to create content on Pinterest or how to start on Pinterest. And there's lots of tutorials and things like that. But in general, yeah, you can either create your own pins or you can repin. Oh, and the blog bridge idea. So I mentioned earlier, if you're going to start a blog, one idea is to have a bridge in your blog post. So a bridge is basically when you're going to have like a middle piece of content between when somebody first clicks on your blog to read your post that leads them over to your Etsy shop or to your listing for your product or whatever you're selling. So the bridge could be you're going to have something on your blog that's providing informational content that's not just spamming people with, hey, go buy my product, but it's something of value to them that they're going to read through. People read through blogs a lot of times for informational value, right? They want to know how to do something. They want tips or strategies on something or stories. They want to read your story. It depends what kind of blog you're going for, but the bridge would be a blog post that basically can easily lead to your shop. So the example I used earlier was like if maybe your product is like organizational products. So your blog would be the informational side of that, which is information like about organization, right? So your blog post might be like 10 ways to organize your hanging clothes in your closet. In that post where the primary purpose of that blog post is to provide information and value for your reader, somewhere in there you're plugging in the link to your product as part of that solution. So if you have, let's say, a shoe rack, like we talked about earlier, the shoe rack could be like if you have 10 tips on how to organize your closet, number 3 is using shoe racks to create vertical space. Then when you talk about that, you're going to plug in your link for your shoe rack as part of the solution. It's not the purpose of the whole post. It's just a plug in there. And that acts as a bridge to lead them from your blog over to your product page. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. Crown with Coils says, I have just started my new Christian wall art digital download Etsy business. Awesome. But struggling to convert views into sales, even while running a sale. I'd love to know what you recommend I do next. So actually, I just put out my last video was how to convert. I don't know if you saw that now I'm thinking through. Hold on. Because I just filmed another video. So hold on. I want to make sure I'm saying it right. Yeah, it was on converting into sales. So if you have not seen that video, I would recommend after this you go look at the most recent video that I just put out because it's all about optimizing your listings for converting. So that can be kind of like the sort of frustrating place we can get into once we've started our Etsy shop. We've been driving traffic. We're getting views and we're getting some traffic, but why are they not converting into sales? And that's a whole different topic. So there's different things you can look at in terms of optimizing your listings for sales. So that has to do with your photography, your SEO, your search engine optimization, your tags, your titles, your attributes, your categories, the way you have set up your listing, and then also the overall setup of your shop. There's certain things you can do to convert into sales more often. It's not like it's never going to be like a guaranteed thing, but to optimize the best you can for sales. So that's what that video is all about. I'm going to leave it at that so that you can go watch that video after this. Gabriella says, I know Pinterest is preferring fresh pins, but my biggest competitors repin one same pin like crazy. It seems like it's working for them. What do you think about it? Thank you. Digital products. Okay, like I said, Gabriella, I'm not going to get too deep into it because I am not a Pinterest expert. I have heard other coaches who have used primarily Pinterest to drive traffic. I have used primarily Facebook. So my strategy is completely different. I do know that Pinterest can be really good for business, and I've used it a little bit, but I'm by no means a Pinterest expert. So I'm going to defer you to your own research on that. I think that there are a lot of good pieces of content around Pinterest and how it works. So of course I would Google that like crazy, search on YouTube for Pinterest tips, tutorials, things like that. Because I don't want to give you any information that's going to lead you wrong. And I haven't had a lot of experience with that. Okay. Catered says, I have an anime nerd culture jewelry business. I sell on Etsy, but have also started selling in person at conventions. Do you have any advice to convert those in-person encounters to online too? So do you mean like people that you meet at your conventions that you're selling at, how to get them on your email list or how to get them to your Etsy shop? I think the biggest thing I would recommend if you're already in person at an event is to have people try to have them sign up for your newsletter, because if you can get them signed up for your newsletter, then you can always like multiple times be pushing them to your Etsy shop to get them to continue buying online, if that makes sense. So instead of focusing when you're at the event in person, instead of focusing on how to get them to your Etsy shop, I would focus on how to get them to sign up for your newsletter, if that makes sense. Because once they're signed up for your newsletter, unless they actually unsubscribe at some point, that's a constant connection that you have with them. So what you could do at the convention is to have like a sign up sheet right there, or you could do a giveaway. There's a lot of different things you could do, like promotion or a giveaway. When I first started selling, I also sold at in-person events, and I would have a giveaway where people could enter their email to sign up for the newsletter in exchange for an entry for the giveaway. And then I would email the person that won the giveaway. So that's probably, the main thing I would recommend to try to get people on your email list. The giveaway can be run however you want. It could be a free product. It could be a discount, something, like just be creative, and you could even research ideas for giveaways. But that doing a giveaway sign up kind of at an in-person event can draw people in and can really get a lot of signups for your newsletter. And then at that point, once you have people on your newsletter list, you can drive them to your Etsy shop. Okay. If you change the SEO and tag, does that mean you have to pay for a new listing? No. So when you have your listing already published, you can change your title, you can change your tags, you can change anything in your listing as much as you want, and you don't have to pay for a new listing. The only time you would have to pay for a new listing is if you actually like deactivated the listing and then want to reactivate it or renew it. So should we make different Etsy stores for each niche? Let me know specifically which niches you're talking about. Again, it's sort of subjective and it sort of depends. But I would say if they're just completely different, then yes, I would say have a different store for each niche, unless they're related, like I said before, some way in topic or theme. But let me know, if you let me know specifically what niches you're talking about, I can have a better idea. Oh, we have a super sticker from Lorraine. Thank you, Lorraine. Thank you so much for doing that. I don't see a question on there, so let me know if you have another question, Lorraine, and I will answer it. Oh, we have one from Antoinette too. Thank you, Antoinette. Super sticker. That just makes my day. Thank you so much. Let me know. I don't see a question on yours either. So let me know. There's Antoinette's and there is Lorraine's. Thank you so much. Okay, and right there is Lorraine's information. Okay, wonderful. Thank you guys. All right, so oh wait, I do see a question from Antoinette. Made my first sale a few days ago. Yay! Awesome. Now that item is out of stock, should I make a few of the same items when adding items? Also, do I get charged again to restock that item? So it depends, Antoinette. Do you make like customized made to order items, or are they all the same and you can, make a few at a time? If if they're made to order, obviously, if they're customized in any way, or if there's something on the listing the buyer has to choose, like color or things like that, you may want to wait. If it's something simple like color and you have time, you could just go ahead and make a few in each color. You know what I mean? But if it's something completely personalized, you need to wait on that. But if it's not, and you don't have to customize any part of it, it's just the same thing over and over. I would suggest to go ahead and stock up if you have time to make a few to have. Normally what I would do is like wait till I get a sale or two on that specific item before I start making extra, because you have no guarantee that that listing is going to sell at any point. But if you've made a few sales on a listing and you do feel like pretty confident that it's going to continue and be pretty consistent, then you could make a few and just have them stocked up. That'll, take a little bit of the headache away from making them one at a time whenever an order comes in. It's easier a lot of times if you're already in the zone, you're already creating, go ahead and just make a few and batch them all together. Do I get charged again to restock that item? So basically, if it's the same listing and you're just renewing that listing, you're not creating a new listing. When you create your listing, you can set your renewal to either automatic or manual. So I always recommend automatic if you know it's something that you're going to continue offering. It's the same thing over and over again. That way, when it makes a sale, Etsy will automatically renew that listing. It'll automatically be shown again. And it's 20 cents each time you renew, or Etsy automatically renews. If you have it set to manual, then you'll be in charge of going in and renewing it. If you don't remember to do that, then it just stays deactivated. So you definitely do want to remember to go in there and renew it if you want to offer it again. And of course, it's 20 cents either way each time you renew it. A lot of times I'll put, as far as the quantity, when I create the listing, I'll put the quantity at more than one if I have more than one that I'm willing to sell, even if they're not made yet. But it just depends how many you want to offer, how many you have made, that kind of thing. Let's see. Beloved Crown Creation says, hello, I would like to know how I can offer free shipping by adding the price plus shipping if I don't know the location it's going. For the fee changes depending. Okay. So yeah, the shipping fee will change depending on the location. So you're asking like how to offer, you want to offer free shipping, but you need to build the cost for the shipping into the price so you're not losing out. But how do you figure out what cost to build into your price if the shipping changes depending on the location? So that's a great question. And I actually dealt with this a lot when I was first starting to offer free shipping. I would think about, number one, do you offer shipping only, do you offer it internationally, or do you offer it only to your country? Because that'll change things up a little bit too. For instance, for me, I originally started offering both, and then I eventually stopped offering international shipping just because my items are a little bit bigger and heavier. And the international shipping was just crazy, and it was hard to figure out and hard to deal with. So for me, and I didn't do that for a while, but once I started getting really substantial, like consistent sales, I didn't feel like I needed that as much because I didn't even get international orders that often. So I ended up just not offering international, only offering to the US. And so what I did was I kind of looked at, depending on my location, the state in the US that was like furthest from me that I knew would cost the most, what was the high end that my shipping would be, and then close to me, like in my same city, what would that shipping be? And I kind of got a range for the low end and the high end of what my shipping would be to anywhere in the US, and I base it on the middle. So I kind of take the average of those two and base it on the middle. And of course, I include also not just the shipping price, but the cost for my packaging materials, a little bit of handling, things like that. So it all kind of works together to give me the price that I need to build in. Um, it's a little bit more confusing if you do offer international, because when you're trying to get that range, it's way huge. It's just huge. It's way bigger. So I would recommend to, like, if you're only, the way you can do that is if you only offer to your country and figure out what the low end and the high end would be and kind of take the middle, the average. Um, so that way, you may be losing out a little bit depending on if you get more orders from this area, or you may actually be making a little bit depending, but it kind of, balances out in the end. So I don't worry too much now about where they're coming from. I will say, though, caveat to that is, at least for the US, charges for shipping to Alaska and Hawaii are astronomical. So those two states I generally don't ship to unless the person, if the person buys from me and let's say they have an Alaska shipping address. I've had this a couple times. I realize it on there and I'll message them and say, hey, unfortunately, we don't ship to Alaska or Hawaii because of the crazy shipping costs. We can either have you purchase a separate like private listing to cover the extra expense. And then whatever that is, I'll kind of like make up the difference and have them purchase a little extra listing for that, or cancel it and offer to refund. Unfortunately, I haven't found a good way to only to exclude those two states when I'm offering just to the US. So every now and then I'll see that an order comes in from one of those and I'll just have to message the buyer and work it out personally with them. The key to that is really good customer service. You don't want to ever make it feel like that it is their fault. It's just an unfortunate situation that it's so high. The shipping is just so high. So there's different things you can do if you run into that. Let's see. We have, could you put the link to your store from Pinterest? So I guess you're asking, like, can you pin a link from your store? So the answer to that is yes. You can create a pin with, one of your listings on Pinterest. You can do that. But again, I would recommend thinking more about a bridge. So instead of just linking directly to your listing, maybe creating an article or a blog post that's providing more value for people. And then so they would click on from Pinterest, they're on there for inspiration, they're on there for planning purposes, they're on there to learn, right? You might have a blog post that you pin, that inside that blog post is a link to your shop, if that makes sense. But you could also do a little bit of both. I would just play around with it, experiment, and see what works best. Okay. Sandrine, can we reach out to you for coaching? I need help with my current store and upcoming stores that I will have. Yeah, so I don't currently have a coaching program that I offer, but I do have a course in the works. So I know I've mentioned this to you guys on the last live stream. I have a complete full Etsy success course that I am in the midst of creating behind the scenes right now. So that will be coming out. I don't have a launch date for it yet. I'm hoping it'll be ready in a couple of months. So hopefully in the spring. But that will be a comprehensive course. So I know a while back I polled you guys and asked you, would you rather have like a more of a mini course or a full comprehensive, like A to Z complete system course? And the vast majority of you said you wanted the full course. So that is what we are creating. We are in the middle of it. So yes, I don't offer one-on-one coaching right now, but I'm going to be offering that course. And when you purchase that course, it'll also include a private exclusive Facebook group that I will be active in, answering questions, going live just for our course members, things like that. So that'll be in the spring, hopefully. Of course, I will be announcing when that is ready to launch, how to sign up for it. I believe we're going to be launching it twice a year. So one will hopefully be in the spring and then maybe once again in the fall. But until then, I do offer an Etsy shop critique if you're interested in me looking at your shop. And it's actually like a video critique. So I video myself and share my screen looking through your shop, all the different elements of your listing and your shop, and just review a complete review of your shop. So if you're interested in that, that is on my Etsy shop. So you can see it and view it there. I will post, let's see. Well, I'll have to wait till I'm done here, but actually, no, it's linked. Sorry, y'all. It's linked in my description. I was figuring out the best way to get y'all that link. It's already linked in the description. So if you look in that description, it'll say something like, get your shop reviewed by Kate, and there's a link there. That is the link to the listing. So those are the two types of coaching I offer right now would be the personal Etsy shop critique, which is available now, or the course that's hopefully coming out in the spring. All right, let's see. D says, I don't do social media. Can I still drive sales or no? Yeah, D. So that is what I covered. I'm not sure if you were on at the very start of this live stream. That was what I was talking about, the 6 ways that you can drive traffic to your shop. So social media is just one of the 6 that I talk about. So I would definitely, if you weren't on at the beginning of this, when we're done, go back and watch the replay and watch that first part because I have 5 other ways that I talk about besides social media that can help you drive traffic. Sorry, I'm just kind of looking through these questions here. Make sure if you have a question to put the 4 question marks in front so it's easier for me to tell. All right, Marina says, from your experience in your shop, do you find handmade items or drop ship items? Do you find that one does well over the other? So I primarily sell physical items. So I can only speak, if you're asking from my personal experience, I have only mainly sold physical items. But I have done a lot of research on digital products and know a lot of people that have done really well with drop shipping and digital products. So there's different types of products. The drop shipping, I think it can be done well. It can be successful if it's done well. It can also be something that people look at as sort of like a quick, easy, like, I'm going to make all this money and I don't even have to do anything. If you look at it like that, I don't think it's going to be successful for you because even though if you're drop shipping, of course, it does take a little bit of the pressure off of you in terms of making your items, but there's a lot more competition with people who drop ship and I do feel like it can be kind of like people don't understand the work that still goes into it. So you still have to do the work to drive the traffic to your shop, to have your professional branding, all the things. It's not just kind of like a turnkey solution like people think it is. But I do think drop shipping I know it can be successful. I've seen many shops that are drop ship shops be very successful. I think the key is not really which one you go with because both can be successful. The key is, are you committed to putting in the work that it takes, the effort that it takes to really build your shop well, to do your research on SEO, on photography for your specific niche. It takes a lot of research and a lot of planning to do it well. So if you're committed to that and you're willing to put in that effort, I think you're going to be successful, no doubt. And if you have a good product, obviously that's the foundation. That's kind of the assumption is you have a good product. So if you have that and you're willing to do the work, then I think either one could be successful. All right, friends, I just have a couple more minutes on here, so I may not get to all the questions. If you have one, go ahead and put it on there and I'll try to I'm going to answer a few more. Is it advisable to sell a physical item as well as the digital download of that design? So I kind of need to know what exactly you're talking about to answer that correctly. A physical item as well as a digital download. I can't think of what that would apply to. So let me know if you're still on, you can clarify that for me a little bit and I'll try to answer that. Would a blog post work for print on demand graphic tees? So you can create a blog post about pretty much anything. I would do some research. If you're interested in starting a blog as a way to kind of drive traffic, I would do research first for that specific niche. I would find other blogs that have to do with that niche, see what they're doing, get some inspiration from them. It's whenever you kind of feel stuck or you don't really know what to do, it's not a bad thing to look at your competition and look at people that are already doing this and gain some inspiration from what they're doing. It's not copying, it's as long as you put your own twist and your own style. So your blog is going to be different in a lot of different ways. Your brand voice sounds different to people, your personality is different. So even if you're covering some of the same topics, you're doing it in a completely new and unique way. So don't look at it as copying, look at it as gaining inspiration and ideas from other people and putting your own spin on it. So for sure, I think it could work for any niche if you do it the right way. You just have to figure out for that niche and your target customers in that niche who are buying those things, what type of problem might they have and how can you serve them and provide a solution for that problem. All right. Bernadette, cost of gift wrapping items is going over the amount that Etsy allows us to charge when you factor in additional postage. Any tips? Um, so if it goes above, like if you're spending more and you're losing out, you can always just build, whether it's shipping or gift wrapping, whatever it's for, you can always build an extra amount into just your price itself. That would be the main thing I would say is if you're losing out in any area and you can't figure out a way to charge for that specifically, you can always build it into your price to cover it. Honey Pancake says, would you say that quantity or quality sells best for Etsy, such as having more listings or really detailed info, nice photos? Okay, this is the ultimate question. People disagree so much about this. I'm going to say what I think. Others think different things. Go with what works for you. I think both quantity and quality are important. I would choose quality over quantity. Let me explain why. Quality is when people are searching on Etsy, they are probably going to be narrowing it down to a few. Once they've done their search and their research for what they're looking for, they're going to be narrowing it down to a few different listings. And when they are narrowing it down and they're about to make their decision between the different listings, quality is what comes into play, right? So having all 10 photo, slots or as many of those as possible, it's very unlikely you're going to sell an item if it just has one photo. You need to be using as many of those photo slots as possible. They need to be like top-notch professional looking photos. So back in the day, maybe people shopped on Etsy because they knew the mom down the street was like selling and paying for her dance lessons for her kids and they wanted to support her. And maybe there's still some people that shop on Etsy for that, but Etsy has come a long way in terms of like professionalism. And there are professional shops on Etsy now that are legitimate businesses that you're competing with, right? So you don't have to be at the level of those professional shops. It's not to intimidate you. It's to say though that your photos have to be professional looking. Now it's easy actually to get a professional looking photo if you know a couple of different strategies and tactics, but that takes research on your part to figure out how to do that on your phone or whatever device you're using, or how do I get a professional looking background for my photos at home when I don't really have a lot of resources. I don't have a lot of props, things like that. It can be done, but it takes research on your part. So my point in all of this is to say quality is what matters. The photos matter, right? The professionalism and the quality of the photos matter. Now, yes, when you have more listings in general, you probably do have more of a chance to be discovered by different types of people, or a wider array of people. So of course, you should always be listing new things. You should always be staying on top of trends and evolving with the trends as they come and go, testing out different listings. But I would be cautious with that because you can burn out very easily. I've heard other Etsy coaches say one listing at least a day, one new listing a day. You're going to burn out real fast if you try to do that. I have never done that as a strategy. I have never tried to do that as a strategy. I knew I wouldn't last at all if I tried to do that. So I have gone at my own pace. Might it take you a little bit longer? Yes. But is it better that you don't burn out and quit? Yes. So whatever pace you have to go at, especially like for me, I have kids. I have family time. I make dinner for them. You know what I mean? Like I'm not going to be working 12 hours a day. So it's up to you to know what kind of quality of life you want to have. If you can make a new listing each day and still have the kind of quality of life that you want, go for it. More listings, that's awesome. There's nothing wrong with having more listings. But if you are sacrificing other parts of your life to for the hustle, like a new listing every day and you're just about to burn out, don't do it. It's not worth it. So to me, I get a little passionate about that question because I just hear people saying that so much. And I'm not saying there's no merit to that. Etsy does give you a temporary boost for your listing if it's a new listing. So it's like a recency thing. So the more recent the listing, the more of a temporary boost, but it's a slight boost. And Etsy themselves have said directly it's the boost that you get for that is not worth trying to like overdoing it and trying like using that as your main strategy. They have themselves said that it doesn't work that way. So I would shoot for both, but I would favor quality over quantity. And I would only shoot for quantity as much as I can without burning out, if that makes sense. Okay. Maria says, what would you recommend as your first Etsy shop for success? POD, digital, physical items, things. Well, it really depends, Maria, I would say when you're deciding on what type of product, you need to think about what skills you already have or what you're willing to learn or teach yourself. A lot of what I've done has been self-taught. I've just watched tutorials and taught myself, but they were things that I was interested in. So I would never try to open a shop with a product that I wasn't even interested in because I thought it would sell well. It needs to be a combination of what will sell well, what you already know, what you're willing to teach yourself or learn somehow. You can pay for a course or teach yourself or watch a tutorial. And then along with that, what's your budget like? Because certain things like, for instance, with our second shop, our jewelry shop, we had to make a major purchase, which was a laser cutting machine. At the time, we had the budget for that because we had already grown our first shop and we were profiting. And so we had the money to reinvest and to make a purchase like that. We have to consider what kind of equipment you would need for, if you're making physical products, what type of products you're going to need equipment for. So all of those things go into making that decision. I think all of them, obviously there is room for all of them on Etsy. They all sell well depending on when you get more specific with it, like what themes or what topics or what niches you're looking at. Certain ones sell better than others, but as far as comparing POD to digital to physical, they all have a place on Etsy. So I would just say, what are you most passionate about? What can you see yourself doing for the long term? You're not going to get sick of, you're not going to burn out, that kind of thing. All right, I have time for maybe 2 more questions. Let's see. Okay, I see. Shamala, you were talking about creating a onesie with your design versus selling the downloadable design that people can use to create the onesies themselves. It's up to you. Honestly, I think you could do both. I do think it might be a little confusing for people. It goes back to the expert thing. So let's say I'm a mom looking for an actual physical onesie that I want to purchase. I come to your shop and then I see that you offer both. It might be a little confusing to me. I think you would appear as more of an expert in your niche if you only had one or the other, like only physical products or only downloads. Not saying you can't because they are related. So I wouldn't say for sure don't do it. But I do think you might appear as more of an expert if you have only one or the other. You could also create a second shop, have one for your physical products and one for your downloads. All right, let's do one last question. How many products do you think that is best to have in the shop? 5 to 10. So there's no magic number here. People ask this. There's really no like secret magic number, but I would say when you're first starting your shop, shoot to have maybe 12 listings. That gives you a couple of rows. I think there's what is there, 4 on each row? I can't remember. But it gives you a couple of rows. So when people look at your shop page, it at least seems somewhat established. And then, of course, you can continue growing, adding more listings. Now, I've heard people talk about having thousands, how you would need to have thousands of listings. I have never had over probably 60 listings in my shop at one time. I've just never done that as a strategy, and it has worked for the way I've done it has worked for me, focusing on quality and research. Like research is the key, and offering products that people actually want, not just the hustle of creating a ton of products every day. So I don't think there's really a maximum or a magic number for like a perfect shop amount. I would say maybe shoot for having like a couple pages, like maybe two to three pages of listings. To me, when I'm a buyer and I purchase things on Etsy, I don't mind if they only have 2 pages of listings. To me, that doesn't take away from anything. They're still established, in my opinion, and they could have 20 pages of listings. I don't really look at that as a buyer. I look at the quality of the product itself and the listing. So I would say shoot to start with maybe 10 to 12 and then grow it, but don't feel like you have to reach like thousands of listings. Okay, friends. Well, that's all the time I have for today. I'm sorry I didn't get to all the questions. I think I got to most of them. If you're watching the replay, you can always comment below if you have a question. I really do try to personally go through all the comments on my videos and answer as many as I can personally. Also, don't forget to check the description if you're interested in any of the stuff I mentioned. I have my whole list of resources and tools that I use, websites that I use down there. And also the free Etsy Success Guide that you can sign up for, which is just a great place to start or to go if you need help with growing your shop and growing your sales. All right, friends. Well, have a wonderful day. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you again very soon.